everybody, welcome to my channel for the fifth and final game of WTC 2023. So after the round 4 that we won with a good margin against Ottenbach, the French team, we are here on the final table, table 1 against Poland. So it's exactly what we did last year. We had the final against Germany, which we lost, ended up 4th, and now we have a second chance of basically winning WTC. For that, we would need a big win on Poland because they have like, I think 17 points more than us before the final game. But we know we have still a chance, and most of all, we want to try to win the round to basically would be a good statement from us if we are able to win all 5 of our game at WTC, no matter how we end up. So basically, that's the whole idea, to play a good round. It's a huge test, and it's an amazing preparation for ETC again. I am paired against their EOS player Azurix. He has a beautiful army. I don't remember if he painted that himself or not, but the army is just looking amazing, as you can see. Ninja theme or Asian theme. It's really great looking army. So it was a pleasure to play against that. And yeah, the list was quite interesting. Let's jump on to the list. So you have mine here, and this was my opponent's list. So basically it works around 4 infantry block, heavy infantry, Imperial Guard, 2 times Flagellant, the 3 buff wagons. And then, as you can see, Imperial Guard are bodyguard with 2 characters. They have also the battle focus thing. We have 2 unbreakable unit, and then he has some state militia to create some traffic, a support unit to back up the character if he needs to, a small scoring unit that can also act as chaff, and 2 rocketeers. So it's a straightforward list. That was kind of scary on paper. I think we didn't have a lot of good matchup estimation on that. I think mainly due to the lack of experience against this type of list. And yeah, it's kind of scary. I mean, you have so many bodies to fight against, like 120 or something like that. You have a lot of them to fight against, and if they are under the buff wagons, I mean, +1 to hit, reroll to hit, -1 to hit. Yeah, it gets interesting, it gets difficult potentially, and also he has a huge magical setup that helps a lot his block to get even better. So an interesting list around infantry basically, and the Rocketeer that are obviously a good answers in the matchup against Ogre Khan. We were playing Capture the Flag and Count to Trust. His magical setup, as you can see, has a lot of spell. He has 11 spell in total if I counted correctly, but 7 of them are bounce spell, which is a small weakness I figured out, because in some magic phase, when you have some dice, you could basically ended up dispelling both Ice and Fire and Unerring Strike, because the power level is limited to 8. So even with 5 dice, if you get a bit lucky, you can dispel both, which is always going to be a limit. But the amount of spell that he has, I mean, it's crazy. He has good buffs, and also from distance, very good magic missiles. So yep, I felt it's a good magic phase, but with the small weakness of having a lot of bounce spell. I think that has to be said. For my magic phase, not a lot to say. I think the sensible choices here, which is the triple Swarm of Insect, Totemic Summon, Chilling Hole to basically stop the Rocketeer from destroying my army. And then I have some combat buff with +1 resilience, might, and Brain Spirit, which is good against big blocks. And we have End of Heaven to finish the setup. So flags, no need to get board control, which is, I think, positive, because against this list you don't want to fight, for example, in the middle of the board. Could be annoying to get in the middle of the board and fighting early on, because basically you can get like kind of tired, meaning you will suffer losses from the combat, but basically the succession of combat might be a huge issue, and you end up just losing. He has more wounds than you, he's more resilient, so at some point I might just not have enough on the board to still play the game, or basically be able to win the secondary. So I think definitely positive to play flag here, but at the same time, another aspect to consider, it cuts some of my chaff, meaning my 2 darts cannot be used as chaff, which could be also huge to Frenzy Bait the Flagellant to chaff 1 block while I push on other part of the map. So I think there are some positive, but also some negatives in the fact that it's Capture the Flags. And also he's playing like with Flagellant that are not scoring, so he can basically try to fight with things that are non-scoring to basically like reduce my number of wounds, and then try to finish me with scoring blocks that are still full. That could be the idea. His blocks like to fight close to the buff wagon, as you will see in the next picture of the deployment. That's something I used during the whole game, his lack of projection. So he cannot really push that hard out of the buff wagon, because then the blocks are not so scary anymore and not anymore problem. So I try to use that against him. The Rocketeer are a big danger for me. Target them with Swarm of Insect, Atomic Summon, Chain Goal. I think that's really the idea. As soon as the Rocketeer are out of the game, basically, I mean, then I should be a bit more in control of the game. While they are still on the table and hitting, I know that if he spikes a bit of luck and reduces me too quickly, I could be in trouble in the matchup. So definitely the variance for me in the matchup, or the risk in the matchup, are around the Rocketeer mostly. Some strong magic missiles, delay engagement, reduce the flagellant before combat, because as I said, if they come full fighting at me, I will just suffer so many wounds that I cannot fight after. No fast chaff in his list, because we're playing flags. He cannot use his fast cav, his cav to chaff me. So it could be hard for him to push without too much risk. And the number I put in the matrix was an 8. I think part of it also explained by the lack of knowledge in the matchup. I think it's probably closer to a drawish estimation. So a bit higher than that should have been. I think so. So let's see what happened at deployment. He won the roll for side and gave me the impassable in my zone, which makes totally sense. And after that, for me, we are playing Counter Trust, so it was pretty clear how I was going to deploy. So basically, I decided to start dropping. I put first the dog unit here, which puts him back on my strong flank, so to say. He deployed a long line of militia here on the opposite side to push me back, which allows me, I think, next to place probably the Tuskus or the Death Star, I don't know. One of those two pretty quickly, I think. The Tuskus most likely. And after that, he placed, I think, the cavalry here on the far left, where I placed Death Star. He placed something else not relevant, and then I drop a first turn. And I placed the Giant on the weak flank that can nicely play around the Impassable and basically slow down his flank, but as well could be a threat to the cavalry, depending what he does. If I get some charge at some point, that's terror check on 8, could lose secondary on that, so that's something to keep in mind. My second monster will be on the underside of the Impassable, so again, this combination I'd like to do that potentially the Giant and the Frost Mammoth could be together threat for any infantry unit. Here, so you have Death Star only with the 2 mages. The Great Khan was in the Mercvets unit, who basically keep leadership 9 nicely everywhere I could need it. Here is the shooting Mercvets, the 2 darts in the back. His counter deployment, he has here Flagellant. This is the Imperial Guard. Here you have the 3 buff wagons, so this is Alta and 2 mages. Militia in front of Flagellant. That's the Halberdier block. Second militia here in the line. The cavalry and the light infantry and the 2 Rocketeers are in the back. So basically decided not to play straight facing me, which meant he respected as well my ability to potentially be aggressive and also engage combat in 1-1 situation where I could potentially hurt him. And also, I think the fact that he has to consider is my ability to potentially kill one of the buff wagon or some before the combat. If he's facing me, he cannot really hide them really well, and that could be at some point an issue if he's not buff enough. Also the risk of failing some frenzy, so he decided to delay a bit the engagement by playing, not totally in front of me, also protecting some of his scoring unit nicely. Let's move on to my turn 1. So I push on a strong flank, push 14 with the Tuskus, move them 6 forward. I decided to move slightly back with the Tribesman. What I did is making some calculation. If he puts an order on the Imperial Guard and the Flagellant, so on, he cannot put order on them, but if he pushes hard with the Imperial Guard, what's going to be his position? What could he do next? How could he push? Can I move back and basically not chaff immediately? What can I do? And also, I think the main reason of moving back here was to be out of range of all the militia shots. Meaning he would need to at least move and then he hit me on 6s. So I wanted to reduce what he could do, and the dogs using the hill to also not get shot at early on. So I think here I found a good positioning to minimize a little bit what he might do, get the mages in position to get spells on the Rocketeer, and the Giant moved to the left, and I moved with the Frosty a bit closer here, so still forming good threats that the infantry cannot move freely without giving me nice charges option. But definitely here a part of the area where I felt I have some breathing room, so that's always something I try to do, to exploit the space while there is space, to basically put pressure on him on my strong flank. Magic Face got Swarm of Insect on the far away Rocketeer, which did 2 wounds, which is really nice. And then with shooting, I kill 5 Flagellant on this unit, which is a good start. He has only 26 of them, so -5, it's only 21 left. His turn 1 turns around to react and leaves me with a long charge. All the Buffs Wagon are in the back, so if I charge, I'm likely to not have many Tuskers left. Turn around with the IG as well, using the heal to avoid the charge of the Testa, and the rest start pushing slowly towards me. He went out of terror range, so no risk here taken. Magic Face get reroll to hit on one of the Rocketeer, I think the one hitting on 5s. I dispel Unerring Strike and Ice and Fire. Like I told you, it's only bounce spell. And then Magic Face, so the one hitting on 6s did nothing, and the other one hitting on 5s did 5 wounds to my Merc Vets. So yeah, hitting on 5, reroll to hit is quite strong. So that's already 5 wounds, so almost 2 dead Merc Vets, which is already showing me what I was afraid of. I think that was also the 2 Rocketeer were one of the reasons why I put an 8 in the Magic, I think. My turn 2. So I decided not to push too much, but just move slightly. I want to basically give me more time to deal with the Rocketeers, reduce further the numbers of the Flagellant, and maybe Frenzy Bait him later. But I felt, yeah, with the blocks here and the Militia here on the left, there is no way he can really push me towards this zone. I think these units are way too strong in combat in case he push, and I have a Chaff available while he has no Chaff available here. So it would be risky for him to push with something, because I can just get rid of it, Chaff, and then be in position to be with 2 strong units against 1. So I think that's not something really doable for him. So I kept the standoff here on the right, because I'm doing things from range while he doesn't do so much, and I felt with some other Magic Faces I might kill a first Rocketeer, and then it gets easier. While the Militia started to push towards the Giants, they march, and those ones as well, I decided to retreat behind Impassable while still looking at this area, not allowing the cavalry to push. Those guys, if they want to shoot me, first of all, not a lot of them are going to see me, and second of all, they are going to be in my flank, which is hard cover, so I felt good about that. And then next round I can easily move to the right and get to other position to strengthen basically this part of the map. I think the Death Star didn't move much, just a bit sideways, get good line of sight and so on. In the Magic Phase, Swarm of Insect, and I rolled crazy dice here, boom, on this one shot. So yeah, I'm used to crazy Swarm of Insect, and I wasn't disappointed this time again. So one shot of the second Rocketeer, which is huge, because now he has only 1 left, and it's under -1 to hit, so it's hitting me only on 6s. So that's huge. That was I was telling you. At this point, I know that I'm a bit more in control of the matchup. There is less risk for me, less variance that what could happen. So really happy about that. Get as well +1 resilience on the Merc Vets in case the second one wants to shoot me. It's going to be harder to wound me. Let's move on to his turn. And yeah, with shooting attack, I kill some further Flagellant. I felt, yeah, like 2 or 3 this time, not much. His turn 2. He pushes a bit with the Militia, looking this way. Pushes a bit the cavalry, but still far away from me. And this time he pushed, yeah, I think the Flagellant in the 2 previous turns, yeah, did 8. And then the 8, I think they push max each round. So this unit of Flagellant is really pushing me. The charge he gives me are not so sexy because of the counter charge available and so on, and all the buffs that he has here. I know that even if I get through the Flagellant and maybe into them, then he has so many options to just lock me with something, or I'm going to be dying. I think I will be losing too many Ogres, and at some point I'm going to die in the middle of his line. So I'm not going to fall in the trap. But he's continuing to push me here on this part of the map with all his units. But as you can see, it's like how you call that? Yeah, it could create a traffic jam here. There is like a bottleneck, which could be hard to pass with 3 units. So I felt it's interesting. The way it's going to be complicated to move all this infantry model into this tight gap here. Yeah, other than that, he used nice technique, which is putting the buff wagon in a line, making basically hard cover for the 2 in the back if I want to shoot them with the Merc Vets, or maybe even potentially for some in the left, no line of sight, which protects very well the buff wagons. And at the same time, I felt the only thing that he could have potentially done is just look on top in case, I don't know, maybe with some of them, in case I try something crazy, because he started to push here against the Tusker, as you can see slightly. There are still a bit too much of them to engage, and especially is within aura of reroll to hit, so that's enough to create kill like 2 Tuskers, which makes them complicated for the Tuskers, because he has some good line of sight here with the IG, meaning if I get through, I have to overrun, then it's like, he can just shoot me, magic me, and it's check on 8, no reroll, and if I lose them, I lose secondary. So again, he creates 2 nice traps here that could look like good charges, but they are way too risky, and basically it's not risking any flags for him, the flagellants, but they are not scoring unit, meaning if I take initiative here, that's me who is taking risk, and basically it could shift the score in his favor. In the magic phase, he get Quicksilver Lash 2 wounds on my Frosty, and then Ice and Fire did another wound. Then with shooting on 6 up, it did nothing to my Frost, luckily for me with this unit. The other one I think was not in range, maybe some of them. And that's it for his turn 2. So the Frosty having suffered 3 wounds, having only 3 left, and the game being kind of standoff-ish at the moment, I don't want to give any point away for free, so I just back off the Frosty as much as I can to the right, making it harder for him to blast me, because he would need to go on the hill, and then I can shoot him. So I felt this is a good position where I can easily retreat more to the back if I need to. Here I keep some middle long distance for him to charge. I think it's always like on a 10 or something like that. I felt if he charges out of the buff wagon, and I continue to move a bit sideways to give me a bit more freedom of movement to move to the top if I need to. As you can see, the Death Star moved 3 back, which leaves me with a very long charge for him, so I'm happy about that. And I start to back the Giant, same technique, those guys going to be in my flank, I'm be looking in the middle. So if he push too much with the Flagellant, he could be risking Monster in the flank, Death Star in the front. Could be too much for him. And he is still playing with the heal for the Death Star not able to see him, basically. In the magic phase, what happened? I get Swarm of Insect, kill 6 flags, another crazy Swarm of Insect. End of Heaven fails this time. And then shooting, I kill another 4 flags. I think I started with End of Heaven here, and then I felt there are not a lot of them left, so I started to shoot at this unit that is still pressuring me on the bottom. So I kill 4 of them with the shooting attack. But another crazy Swarm of Insect here. His turn, continue to push with those Flagellant, as you can see. Or was this the opposite? Yeah, I think Swarm of Insect went here. I kill 6, and I kill 4 with shooting on top. Yeah, exactly. So that's the opposite to what I told you. So he pushed the Flagellant down, looking at both the Giant and the Death Star in the front, tempting me to charge again, but doesn't look so good, meaning if I'm in the middle here, what can I get from overrun? Maybe to a buff wagon, then he can try to counter charge me, block me, turn around with stuff. Yeah, not so sexy. I mean, there's so many shooting, and still the Halberdier are here, so I felt that he could still move not in a good way. I think this guy is stubborn, if I remember correctly, so he could easily block me. Then in close combat, okay, I would get a buff wagon, maybe killed. Even not sure, because I don't have the Kagera in there. So yeah, it's way too risky for me to go in it, but he tempted me again. Those guys, they stay where they are. He remarks that now that the buff wagons are moving down, I cannot keep them in range of many things other than the reroll to it, meaning they cannot push more, then they would be out of buff wagon range, and then that's a completely different story. In his magic phase, and yeah, he pushes a bit more with the cavalry, as you can see. In his magic phase, I Binding Scroll and Earring Strike, because I think the Giant is now really key for me. Could be a chaff piece next round. Could be really interesting to block everything here. So I felt I cannot lose the Giant now. He gets reroll to wound off in case I want to charge that, which I won't. And Ice and Fire did nothing to my Giant. Shooting attack as well. I think he failed a mark check with those guys, so he was still in my flank with everybody, more or less, meaning couldn't do much on myself. I think he did nothing, basically. My turn 4. So I used the Giant as a chaff to the Flagellant, and I felt in this position, basically I'm blocking everybody in the left, creating a huge traffic jam. I cannot charge here in the gap, cannot charge the Halberdier, everybody's blocked. So it's really nice, creating a first frenzy bait on a 10 maximize, and I create another frenzy bait here on a 10 maximize on the Tuscus. I felt if he failed that one, could give me some free pivot, some good points. So yeah, try to creating check just to force him to open the game basically. The Death Star continue to move a bit sideways or back, I don't know. Yeah, back again. Yeah, I like to have some space between his lines and my Death Star, which is not so strong without the Kagedai at this moment. Continue to move the Frosty back. Don't want to risk any damage spell. I'm basically keeping an eye on his position where he can go to blast me, and I don't want to give the Frost away, so I just move back at the moment. The Chaff as well, yeah. I like the 2 frenzy check here, and we'll see what happens. In Magic Phase, Swarm of Insect kill 4 Flagellant. I get +1 resilience on the Giant, which is key to get wounded by his shooting on 6 up only. And I also got Break the Spirit on this unit in case he failed the frenzy check, created a good amount of DTs, and also make me hit on only 5 up. Shooting, I kill another 3 Flagellant. So yeah, continuing the job of reducing both Flagellant. As you can see, this time I did everything south, so this unit is going to be smaller. His turn 4, he passes the 2 frenzy check on the 10 maximize. Moving, I think those guys, maybe they fail even the mark check, I don't know. They moved to my side, wanted to shoot me. Those guys also looking at me, move the carry here, the Halberdier try to find a way through the traffic jam. He kept, this time he was chaffing me and gave me a flank here, so in case I charge here, I could still overrun into something, but yeah, still all the buff wagon, 2 of them, or yeah, 2 can counter charge me. It's still kind of scary. The IG, yeah, still keeping an eye on everything, and those guys, yeah, just giving me a bad overrun, so in case I charge, I overrun that way, and still the same, he can just turn around, blast me, crit panic check, and so on. So I would rather him moving out of the chariot range and charging me than the opposite, basically, which is a bit counterintuitive. I don't know if it's the right word in English, but it's not very intuitive, because with Ogre-Khan you often like to charge to have impacted, which is here not the case. I prefer him to charge out of the bubble. Let's move on to Magic Phase. He gets reroll to wound in close combat, which I don't care much. Ice and Fire did 1 wound to Giant. He get reroll to hit on the War Machine on 2 dice against 2, and I dispel some other spell. I think an Ring Strike dispel. Shooting on the Giant, he did only 1 wound. He was wounding me on 6 up. The War Machine did nothing despite the reroll to hit. So here I was a bit lucky. So yeah, that was it. The Giant, I think the Giant, I took 2 wounds from the War Machine and 1 from the shooting here. So I had still 4 wounds left. Yeah. Let's move on to my turn 5. So I failed the march check here, but I still found a very good position in his front where if he charged me, he would be minimizing the combat, only having like 1-2 guy in base contact, which is nice for me. Creating another frenzy check here, another frenzy check as well. Move a bit sideways, want to create me maybe options for a later charge. Here I still remain quite far away with my 2 main blocks. I move here a bit sideways, so not particularly seeing any good engaging opportunity at this point of time. Just want to get rid of both Flagellant basically and taking more points. In the Magic Phase, Swarm of Insect, kill 2 Flagellant, 2 dice against 3. This time it's mine to be lucky with a spell. Hand of Heaven, kill another 2. And then with shooting, I think I kill some here, some here. Or I put everything here, we'll see. And shooting, I kill another 5 this time. Yeah, it's always between 3 and 5, I think, the numbers that I do with shooting, which is, it's still going down, 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 so not many of them left. His turn 5, he failed 1 of the frenzy check, this one, not the other one. So as you can see, I put everything here, there are only 4 of them left. So he passes that one, but the other one is failed, and he needs to charge me, which is great, because we are likely to get, it's not many model left, so if I can get free, maybe I can get opportunities to charge stuff. I felt this quite interesting. Hide the cavalry here, pushes with the Halberdier to support this unit, but still really far away from my Death Star. Still all the buff wagons around to basically find solution if he needs to. And yeah, that's it. In the Magic Phase, He gets Quicksilver Lash, 2 wounds on the Tuskers, reroll 2 hit on the Rocket, that did 3 wounds on the Tusker again. I passed the panic check on 9 rollable, and close combat I did 8 wounds, he did 1, so he still has 6 guys left, he's unbreakable, so we are stuck. Yeah, it would have been very lucky for me to one-shot the unit. I think it's almost impossible. How many attacks? I had 8 attacks plus a stomp, so yeah, impossible to kill 14, basically. Yeah, that's it. My turn 5. So as you can see here, lost 8, so he has like 6 left. My turn 6, sorry. Just move out of range with everything. Wants to finish them with range, finish them in combat, and that's more or less it. I was able to put everything out of charge range except the dogs that are on double 6. In the magic phase, Swarm of Insect and Hand of Heaven both dispel, chilling all on the War Machine. And then shooting, I just finished the 4 remaining guys, which is really cool. And close combat, I finished those guys. So I took all the Flagellant, which is really great. His turn, I just fled with the dogs against his double 6 charge. Could have potentially stayed to save half points, but yeah, didn't think about it at the time. It wouldn't have changed much because not creating any panic, anything. So I could have stayed. And the magic phase, I dispel an Earring Strike. He does Ice and Fire, did 1 wound to my Tuskers, tried to create a panic basically to win the game. Quicksilver Lash, dispel, roll 2 hit, fail. Shooting, he did like a wound to them, and to the giant he did like 1 or 2 wounds I think, so it doesn't take half point here, which is nice. I think I put, Chilling All, I put it here to protect the giant. So I don't give point for the giant, don't give point for the Frosty, don't give point for the Tuskers that don't have even to check the panic, and we ended up like that. I ended up taking all Flagellant, which is 720, and the both Rocketeer because one of them exploded last round with the last wound remaining, and I give half point of the Tiger, which makes it a 13-7. So yeah, nice. Post-game analysis, I use his lack of projection against him, basically. Yeah, without really chaff to use, it was kind of hard for him to move forward, and I was feeling I was winning on points from distance, which was the case. I had to respect my combat block, but I had also to respect his combat block close to his buff wagons. As often against EOS, it's better not to enter in the line. As you saw multiple times in the game, there was opportunities where you could say, could have potentially charged, and maybe this could have turned out good. But this would have forced me to engage in a roller coaster game where I wouldn't have everything in control. It could go both ways, and then I need to push with some more units, and everything under the factor that it would be under the buff wagons everywhere. And I felt this is way too risky for me. Basically, I think there are more chances that it goes wrong rather than go right. So yeah, as often against this type of lists that are quite static, it's better not to enter the line if you don't need to due to secondary, which was the case here, and rather delay the engagement and try to find the good timing to engage if you need to at some point, which was here not the case. My range damage, it's more work than expected. I felt I only had 2 magic missiles. More missiles would have made the match better. So I felt, yeah, only with 2 magic missiles and Merc Vets, I was able to kill a whole unit and reduce the second one to half. So definitely not bad. Almost half. Huge game from the giant. Yeah, I was able to do a lot of things around this house. Be annoying, be a chaff, frenzy baiting, and so on, which worked really well at the end. And I even didn't give any point away for the giant. So unexpected. We still ended up losing heavily the round because, as you can see from the first, yeah, there are some tables where it was really even, and then on I think between 6 tables, it looks like quite even. Maybe we are even winning by 2 points. And then the 2 tables of Abrasus and Lapamat, they won big against our Iborn Elf and UD players, which creates a gap of 39 points. And yep, that's 38 points, sorry, and that's enough to make them claim a big win and win the tournament. So yeah, congrats to them. They played well, they deserve the win of the tournament, so congrats to Poland. It was an enjoyable round for me against Azurix. He was a nice player and great looking army, so it's always a pleasure to play against this type of army. Guys, I won't say more now. I will talk about the result in the usual conclusion video. This was an interesting game. I felt I played probably my best game of the tournament, so to say, at the right time, because I think I made the right choices about what can do his list. Despite not having played the game before, I felt I made the right choices about rating his ability or his lack of ability to move out of his buff wagons, and basically his lack of projection to use that against himself. And just frenzy baiting at the right time, under the right condition of not suffering too many wounds if he charged out and so on. So yeah, I felt I was quite happy about the risk management throughout the game. I minimized what he could do. I obviously had a bit of luck at the beginning to kill one of the Rocketeer early on, which basically made my life much easier because it reduces the variance that he might eye roll on the shooting, and then cause me a huge issue if one of my block is reduced too much. Then maybe he can push a bit more. So definitely that was also a key aspect in the early stages of the game. Guys, thanks a lot for watching Battle Report. Talk to you soon on the channel for the conclusion video. Bye.